show you how to make a infinity chain link. So the very first thing I'm going to do for an infinity chain link, and this is going to produce a relatively small link, is I'm going to cut a piece of wire that's just 1 inch long. And you can use most any gauge of wire, but the thicker the wire you use, the more sturdy the link is going to be. Alright, so now I have a small piece of wire. Now, these are called round nose pliers, and they're used for making loops, and an infinity chain is basically just 2 loops. So if I use the very tip of my round nose pliers, it's going to produce a very small loop. But if I use the base, it's going to create a very large loop. We kind of want to use something in the middle. So we don't want to use the very tip, but we don't want to use the very back. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to clamp our wire so it's in between the jaws of the plier. There's nothing sticking out, it's just in between. And I'm doing this about midway up the plier. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate my wrist. So watch how my right wrist moves. I'm moving it as much as I can. When my wrist can't move any longer, then I take it out and I readjust. So that way I can move it a little bit more. What you should be left with is a little like letter P, okay? That's gonna be the first half of our infinity loop. So we have our little P going this way. What we'll want to happen is we want this tail to curve around so it goes the opposite way, creating like a figure 8. So the way I'm gonna do that, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm gonna take this tail end, clamp it between the jaws of my plier, and I'm going to rotate it so it's going the opposite direction. So I'm just moving it around. Alright, this is pretty close to what we should end up with. It's not perfect. I wish it was a little more perfect. But that is going to be our infinity loop. If I had done it more perfectly, these would be more symmetrical. It seems to me that this loop is a bit larger than this loop. That means I wasn't very consistent with my placement. So I'll make maybe one more that's a little bit nicer. Or maybe I won't. Maybe let's make one that's crazy. Let's address some of the common mistakes. So I'm going to cut another piece about 1 inch long. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab it about midway up, rotate my wrist. Alright, now I have a little letter P. Now let's say I clamped my tail and I rotated it the same direction. This is what you would end up with. You would end up with the letter B. Now that's cute and adorable, but it's not an infinity. And that's because I accidentally made both of these going the same direction. So you want your wrist movements, you want them to be going opposite ways. So one you're going to turn like this, and the other you're going to turn the opposite way. Or you can just flip your wire around. A variation on an infinity chain, you can add a bead to the middle. The way we do that, we're just going to clamp it about midway up, rotate, 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 until we get that letter P. Then what you could do, you could put a little bead as the middle of the chain. Okay, so here's a little bead. I'm going to grab this tail, and I'm going to make sure that I bend it so it's going the opposite way. And that's a variation. That's how you would get a bead in the middle. Now, when you want to hook infinity chains together, the way you open them, see if I can zoom you in, you're going to take one of these tail ends and you're just going to pull it up. See how it's pulled up, it's open? This is how you can slip the next link in. And then to close it, all you have to do is just flatten it down. The trick with an infinity loop is you want to make sure that the middle looks continuous. It should look like it's a continuous piece of wire. And that's how you do it.